Now, Q was telling us that something big was about to drop. And I just want to go back to post 1745. This was July 28th, 2018. And in this post, I want to read one line here. FISA brings down the House. Then I want to move to post 1816, and you'll see why I'm saying all this. This is post 1816, August 5th, 2018. FISA, brackets 20 pages of the FISA memo released on Carter Page. There is a reason why we needed to go mainstream prior to the evidence, in all capital letters, being dropped. You have more than you know, D5, which is 4-5, which is the president, where we go one, where we go all, Q. Now, Trump may be about to override Deputy Attorney Rod Rosenstein and use his presidential authority to declassify several caches of information related to the Department of Justice, FBI's ongoing Trump-Russia counterintelligence operation. Now, this is coming from IBD Bureau Chief Paul Sperry. Sperry tweeted on Sunday that the president may declassify the 20, how interesting, redacted pages of the June 2017 FISA renewal and possibly 63 pages of emails and notes between Orr and Steele, and FD-302 summaries of 12 interviews. So Q has been telling us this, and if we go back to post 1816, in brackets 20, it's the 20 pages, FISA. And there's a reason why they were doing all this prior to declassifying it all. Go back to post 1745. FISA will bring down the House. It's being prepared. So Rosenstein and then Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe, they both signed off on the June 2017 FISA surveillance warrant renewal on former Trump aide Carter Page, which we know. And we know that GOP lawmakers, they've been calling for the full release of the requested documents. And the Freedom Caucus Chairman Mark Meadows and Representative Lee Zeldin, they were calling for the declassification and articles of impeachment against Rosenstein. And then they withdraw them later on. That's just to let you know this is how frustrated everyone is. They put it together, and this is coming from the Republicans in the House Intelligence Committee, and they put together a letter asking Trump to declassify all of it. And we showed that before in the report. So what we're seeing right now is that the big drop is coming very, very soon. And it might even come in the next couple of days here. And we're in the month of August. And again, it's going to bring down the House. Now, once this is out, and if you notice, they're letting a little bit out at a time to get the American public used to this. Now, of course, the corporate media, they're going to come up with some type of news story. I know they're out there preying on the story about Trump Jr. meeting the Russians. This is an old story. There was nothing illegal about this. No information was passed. There was no collusion, but they're trying to do whatever they possibly can to come up with something to keep it in the news cycle, to continually keep Russia out there, and Trump did something illegally. And Trump tweeted about this, but they're making it look like this is a breaking news story, which really it isn't. He didn't know anything about it, and they discussed everything but the Clintons. Had nothing to do with it. But you're going to see something else pop up. What it will be, I don't know. It might be some type of small event. It might be something else. But when this information comes out, they're going to have something to distract the American public. But what's going to happen here is more and more this information comes out, more and more people are going to wonder and be curious of what really happened here. And this is why more and more people are going to the QAnon site. This is why there are proofs. This is why there's connections being made. This is why there's research being done, because it's all coming together right now. Now, Facebook is asking major U.S. banks to share user data. Now, they asked several large U.S. banks to share the detailed financial information about their customers, including checking account balances, card transactions, and of course, this is a push to offer all the users' new services. Now, let's think about this. They're talking to JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, and US Bank Corp to give your information, if you're on Facebook, over to Facebook. And if you're not on Facebook, your information might still come over. Now, let's think about this for a second. Facebook's new feature would show people their checking account balance, because that's where you want to go. You want to go to Facebook to figure out what your checking account balance is, as well as other fraud alerts. Now, this seems a little ridiculous because remember, the company is being sued right now for selling people's data, for having their system, as they would say, hacked. And of course, Facebook's out there saying that we just want to enhance the user's experience. They won't use any banking data for anything else. Well, we know that this is all a lie. We know that this is not true. They use the data for everything else, and now they'll have everything. If they're allowed to do this and the banks cooperate, they'll have all your personal information, your movement, your banking transaction. They'll know how much you have, and they'll know everything about everyone. Who's behind Facebook? Who controls a lot of this? The intelligence agencies. Very interesting what they're trying to do here. They're trying to take total control of everything. We see that the EU is blocking Trump's sanctions, which are going to go into effect, and the European Union issued a statement on Monday ahead of the new U.S. sanctions, which they're set to snap back against Iran after midnight Eastern Standard Time. And they're going to, and this is coming from Britain, France, and Germany, they pledge to work to keep the effective financial channels open with Iran. And Trump is warning allies that, listen, if you get in the way, or if there's any type of violation, it will not be tolerated. Now, Trump did say that the Iranian government will eventually contact him. He was waiting for a call, and that's why I have ring in the title. But we're going to be getting to that in just a minute. But the people of Iran, they're preparing for these sanctions. Now, what are they doing? Are they taking their currency? Are they hiding it under the mattress? No. They're taking their currency and they're turning it into precious metals, including bars, coins, jewelry, whatever they can get their hands on. So the price for an 8.13 gram gold coin reportedly hit 36 million rials, $820 on Sunday, more than double its price in January. Last week, gold set a record 45 million rials to 1,025 per coin. People are changing their money into gold because it is a reliable investment commodity, and they know you really can't sanction gold because it's accepted everywhere. And you can go to any country, any place, and change it in for their paper currency. So the people are preparing for these sanctions. Now, what's very interesting about all of this is that hours before the renewed sanctions on Iran are set to snap back, the Iranian President Hassan Rouhani has announced his country is open to negotiations, while also calling on Europe Union to urgently step up the practical action to save the 2015 nuclear deal. Now, remember, Trump was out there saying that he would like to work on a new deal, and Rouhani is out there saying that Iran had always welcomed new negotiations, but Washington would have to take clear steps to prove they can restore trust after reneging on the 2015 JCPOA deal. And Bolton, of course, is out there saying if Iran were really serious, they come to the table. We'll find out whether they are or not. And it seems like Trump is using the same exact method that he used with Kim Jong-un. And I think eventually what's going to happen here is that the Iranian government is going to come to the table and they're going to hash out a completely new deal. Do I think there's going to be regime change? No, that's not the MO of the Trump administration. This is not how they work, because why would they have regime change at this point? It would make no sense whatsoever. It would start a war. Russia would get involved. China would get involved. And you can see with North Korea, there was no regime change there. Venezuela, where we had an attack on Maduro, why would the U.S. not have regime change in North Korea, no regime change in Syria, but have it in Venezuela? No, there was another force that was pushing that agenda there, because they took an opportunity where Maduro was out in the open and they thought they'd be able to get him. Because as we know, the intelligence agencies, the deep state, they've been trying for years and years and years. They've been putting a lot of pressure on Maduro. And it failed once again. So it makes no sense that the Trump administration and the Patriots would do this if they didn't do it to Assad, they didn't do it to Kim Jong-un, and they're not doing it to Rouhani. It would make no sense whatsoever. And they know if they did this, it would all turn out to be a war. And they're trying to avoid a war. They're trying to fix or backtrack everything Obama and the deep state and other presidents have done in the past. And this takes time. It takes a little bit of maneuvering. It doesn't happen overnight, because remember, there are still deep state operatives in each one of these countries. And I'm not saying they're U.S. deep state operatives. They work with the deep state in the U.S. and they're part of the other countries. Some call them the mullahs. So you can see what's happening right now is they're taking the steps to change everything. And it doesn't happen overnight. But we do see change coming. We see Q dropped a post 1821. This is August 6th. Important to understand prior to next, and dropped 2 links and to 2 different PDFs. So if we take a look at these PDFs, and we'll take a look at the first one and we'll read it. This is the U.S. House of Representatives Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence Memo Key Points. It's 1 page. Overview of the process. The committee has made this memo public due to the American people's right to know this information. The committee, which is responsible for overseeing the activities of the intelligence community, hopes the publication of this information will help inform the public about abuses that have occurred at the Department of Justice and FBI, and spur needed reform and accountability at those agencies so that similar abuses will not occur under any administration, Democrat or Republican. The government's surveillance capabilities are extraordinary powers that must be carefully circumscribed to protect Americans' civil liberties. Any use of these powers for political purposes or any purpose other than defending the American people is intolerable. The decision to release the memo was procedurally sound in accordance with the House and committee rules, and included review by the executive branch and over 200 members of the House. It is in the public interest to release the memo, which was carefully crafted to safeguard national security. And this whole thing went on about the Steele dossier, Trump, the spying, the FISA memo, and things like that. The top 10 memo facts. The memo is not intended to undermine the special counsel. The memo is not intended to undermine Department of Justice or FBI. The memo does not jeopardize national security. The memo does not undermine FISA Section 702. The memo does not contain any factual errors. The memo does not result from cooperation with the White House. The memo is not a collection of partisan talking points. The memo is not the product of secret changes. The memo is not a staff-driven exercise. The committee did not suppress the Democrats' memo. And this was the first of the documents that came out. And we're going to be looking at the second part. And this is what Q is saying, that this needs to be out there before everything comes out. And this is the U.S. House of Representatives Permanent Select Committee of Intelligence FISA Title I Summary. And this is, I'm sorry, the other one was 3 pages. This is 1 page. Title I of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act governs the targeting of foreign powers or agents of foreign powers for electronic surveillance by the U.S. government. Agents of foreign powers can be either U.S. persons or non-U.S. persons. If the agent of foreign power is a U.S. person, the government must show that the U.S. person is engaging in espionage, terrorism, or sabotage by or on behalf of foreign power that involves a violation of a criminal statute. applications to target a U.S. person under Title I must be accompanied by a certification from a senior national security official, which may include the director or deputy director of the FBI. They must then be approved by the Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General, or the Assistant Attorney General for National Security. If one of those officials approves an application, it is then sent to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, which consists of judges selected by the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court who serve on a rotating basis. The FISC decides whether to approve or deny an application based on whether the government has demonstrated probable cause to believe the proposed target is a foreign power or agent of a foreign power, and that the facility or place where the electronic surveillance will be directed is being used by the foreign power or agent of a foreign power. If the application is approved, the U.S. government can conduct electronic surveillance of the target for the period of time specified in the application. At the end of that time period, the government must stop surveilling the target unless it goes back to the court and applies to renew the surveillance. For targeted U.S. citizens, FISA applications must be renewed by the FISC every 90 days with a separate finding of probable cause to continue surveillance. Title I is a different authority than Section 702, which Congress reauthorized several weeks ago. So Q is out there saying this information everyone needs to know to understand what is going to happen and what is going to drop. So we can see big things are coming, and we're going to see the deep state scramble. We're going to see the corporate media scramble. And I believe this is why they decided that there's take down certain channels on YouTube, and I think it's Alex Jones. I think Sean had his channel dropped, but it was brought back up, and many others where they're taking down the very, very large ones to try to stop what is about to happen, because they know they have a lot of listeners, and they're trying to stop the reporting of all this and spreading the word out there. But I don't think this is going to work, because as we can see, the word is getting out. So that means they're going to try to take this to the next level. What is the next level? The next level may be some type of an event or some type of story that they make up to keep in the news cycle. It could be anything. Whatever they're going to do, they're going to try to clog the news cycle with something completely different. And of course, it's going to be negative to Trump, where it's going to be some type of collusion, Russian, something other story that they're going to make up to try to convince everyone that Mueller has something. Or even Mueller might all of a sudden push something out there to show that they're very close in finding Russian collusion. Who knows? They're going to push something out there to get something out in the news cycle. And they're trying to censor all those that might report on